The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Then they came to Capernaum, and on the Sabbath Jesus entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority, and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord. I want to talk about walls. Jesus keeps showing up at Sabbath worship and then violates the prohibitions, or should I say walls, about not working on the Sabbath. The synagogue officials think healing is unacceptable work. Rules and regulations are needed if people are going to live in harmony. But how does one view these social modifiers? This is the conflict implied in today's gospel reading. In numerous other scenes, Jesus challenges the Jewish officials who insist on an inflexible application of the law. Well, from the text, we learn that Jesus teaches as one having authority and not as the scribes. Well, how did the scribes teach? They parsed the text down to individual words and even syllables, seeking deeper, hidden meaning, a deep, but they fortify broad application. They were unable to see the forest for the trees. Trees blocked their view. Jesus looked into the forest. The Torah, or law, make up the first 5 books of the Old Testament. It contains many regulations to guide the Jewish community in its religious life. It takes God seriously. However, over time, the scribes and Pharisees created extra observances. If we don't infringe on them, we are protected from transgressing the Torah, a safety cushion. Those observances ultimately amounted to 613 commandments, the majority of them negative. They're called a fence around the Torah, a wall again. We all fall short in trying to take on the mind and heart of our Lord, but we must try. In our own time, when I look at Jesus' compassion applied to interpreting the Torah and compare it to our country's use of law applied to immigration policies, I see a cruel failing on our part, keeping out strangers seeking shelter from cruelty does not follow Jesus' example. Do our immigration laws serve as walls for protection? If we are walling out a threat, we're also walling in our fear. It becomes our fence around the Torah. It seems to me that the scribes and Pharisees had an unhealthy fear of God. The law was their defense. Inflexibly following it served as their wall against God's perceived wrath. The fence protected them. Through compassion, Jesus challenged this view and knocked down the wall. Well, what material or attitudinal walls has our country constructed for protection? What does that wall along the Mexican border reveal about us? A line from Robert Frost's poem, Mending Wall, comes to my mind. I'd like to know what I am walling in and walling out. Well, I close with the poem inscribed at the base of the Statue of Liberty. We all know it. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door. Did that represent the peak of America's experiment in democracy and freedom? Has the wall of fear against desperate outsiders put out the lamp?